Today we are going to show you how to build and scale a profitable Amazon PPC campaign. This is a full-on tutorial. We almost named it PPC Made Easy because this is a very streamlined approach. And I'm very honored to have a guest on this channel, a face whom you've seen many times, Dan Rogers. Dan, thank you so much for being here today.
It's my pleasure, Seth. Thank you so much for having me. And I'm really excited to get into this. I think a lot of people have burning questions on PPC specifically, how to set up campaigns, how to optimize. So I think by the end of this, everyone watching is at least going to learn one or two new things in terms of PPC. And I think we have a good rounded presentation for everyone today. So thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely, Dan. And if you guys are getting a ton of value out of these videos, make sure you subscribe below and like. And we have a very special thing for you at the end of this training. So Dan, I'd just like to start by saying, what is PPC? How would you define it for our listeners?
Sure. So PPC actually stands for pay per click. And the name really explains it well. You are going to pay Amazon per click of your advert, which is also called your sponsored listing. So every time a customer clicks on that sponsored listing of yours, you will pay them, and you pay them in accordance with how much you bid for placement of that sponsored listing. But that's something we'll get more into in the presentation. But PPC really is a pay per click system, and you're going to pay Amazon per click regardless of whether that customer actually buys from you or not. So you're paying literally only based on the click that you get from customers. And so with that base understanding of PPC, Seth, if you could expand a little bit on sponsored listings, like specifically, what is a sponsored listing?
Absolutely. So a sponsored listing is a listing that shows up because you ran a PPC campaign on that listing. So here on the screen, you can see sellers turning PPC ads at the top of page 1 for the keyword taco holder. And this is indicated by that little sponsored badge that you're going to see above the title of each of these listings. So you, the seller, are paying Amazon for this increased visibility every time a clicker or every time a customer, you can call them a clicker if you want, every time a customer clicks on the sponsored listing. So with all these sponsored listings, Dan, who gets what position?
That's actually a really good question, because as you can see on the screenshot over here, you actually get multiple sponsored listing positions on each results page for each keyword on Amazon. And so who's going to get position 1? Let's say you want to be top of page 1. How do you actually get to top of page 1 instead of middle of page 1 or bottom of page 1? And that actually happens through a bidding system, just like an auction. And the seller who bids the most, who offers Amazon the most money for a potential click, is going to get position 1 at the top of page 1. And the bidder or the seller who bids the second most is going to get position 2, and so on. It works like that through all of the results pages, even onto page 2 or 3, etc. But really it's based on whoever bids the most gets a better position on that keyword. Because remember, you're bidding per keyword as well. With this product here, we've got taco holder. We'll have taco holders set of 6. We have all these different keywords. And so on each of them, you're going to bid a certain amount on that specific keyword. And this is why you might have a better sponsored listing position on taco holder and a worse sponsored listing position on taco holder set of 6. Maybe you're bidding a little less on the set of 6 one. And so that's why it happens through a bidding system. And remember, it happens per keyword. So you're bidding on each and every keyword you choose to bid on for your product. So now that we've covered a bit on sponsored listings, what exactly is an organic listing, Seth? Because people get really confused between sponsored listings, organic listings. Like if you could just make that distinction for us.
Absolutely. So as Dan explained, sponsored listing means it's being pushed up. It's a listing that's being promoted by an ad. An organic listing, on the other hand, is the same listing when you first create your listing. So when you go into the Seller Central account and you create a new listing to sell on Amazon, let's just say it's a listing for taco holder or a coffee mug, that listing is your organic listing. And when a customer or a shopper clicks on the listing, there's no charge to you. So if they end up buying the product from your organic listing, you get the full profit for that product. And that brings us to a very important point. Well, what about ranking? So Dan, could you explain what ranking is? Because this is so important in light of PPC.
Sure. So ranking is actually a term thrown around a lot, but what it really stands for is keyword ranking. It's short for keyword ranking. Because remember, as we just touched on, with a sponsored listing, you're going to bid more in order to put that sponsored listing higher up. With organic listings, that's the listing you first have when you create a product on Amazon. It's your normal, natural listing, your full profit listing, as Seth just went into. In order to get that higher up on the results, how do you get that to show up top of page one for example, taco holder, if that's what you're selling? The way you actually do that is by making more sales on the organic listing. And you can make them either via your organic normal listing or via your sponsored listing, which again, you're paying for. You're paying for that visibility. But if you make sales for either of those for your product, you're going to start to bring up that organic ranking, your keyword ranking for each keyword for that organic listing. So you could go from page 6 to 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 until you get your product on the very first page for that keyword. If you're in position 1 of page 1, as you can see in this screenshot here, this product over here is position 1, page 1 for taco holder. They have the best keyword ranking for this specific keyword. They are ranking number 1. So now that we've covered the basics here, Seth, why would I run PPC? Like, what are the overall reasons that you would have for running a PPC campaign?
There are 3 particular reasons it is so important to run a PPC campaign. First of all, you want to get your initial sales. You just want to start making money. You want to start making money the back you invested. Second is you want to get market feedback. As you run your PPC, this is going to give you more data so you can go back and optimize not only your campaign, but also your listing. And third, and this is really important, a lot of people forget about this one when they first start on Amazon, is you want to grow your organic listings ranking, what Dan was just talking about. Now I'm gonna go a little deeper on each of these. First, let's talk about your initial sales. When you start out, you have no ranking at all, like there's none. So in order to get sales, you need to push that listing artificially, so to speak, to the top of search results so that people find it. And once they find it, then they can buy it. So you're gonna use PPC to pay for ranking. This makes you visible. And when your listing is visible, you're more likely to get a sale. And that is what we mean by those initial sales. Now, when everything is set up correctly, you're also going to start garnering your first reviews as a result. Now, for the second reason, you want also to run PPC to get market feedback. What this means is as you run your PPC campaign, you're gonna find out what keywords convert better than others. And you're going to adjust your keywords accordingly. You're gonna find some keywords turn into sales, some don't, and some turn into sales sometimes. And that'll give you wisdom and knowledge on how to place your bids and what kinds of campaigns you want your listing to rank under, whether it's an automatic campaign or a broad campaign or an exact match campaign. When the sales begin to bring you more data, you're able to take that data and also change your listing. So for example, if you have a keyword and you tend to get a lot of sales when you say taco holder with stand, then you know that keyword, if it tends to get you more sales, maybe you go back and take the listing and you replace the featured photo with a picture of a taco holder with a stand. The third reason for running PPC is you want to get organic ranking. And this is so important because when you get organic ranking, that means if I go to Amazon and I type in taco holder set of 6, for example, if that's our main product or our main keyword, your listing needs to start showing up as early as possible in those search results, which means if I click on that listing and it wasn't through a sponsored ad, you're not paying any PPC anymore and you're getting the full profit, which we had discussed before. So Dan, how do I make sure I'm putting the right keywords into my PPC campaign?
Well, this all comes down to keyword targeting. And this is actually something you would have already done, because remember, you had to create that listing. And one of the things you're going to do when you create the listing is keyword research. So most have their own procedure for keyword research. If you have no idea on keyword research, then you can also check out one of our more recent videos where we actually go through creating a listing step by step, including keyword research. So we'll link that below as well, but only watch that after this. We're going to really focus on the PPC here. The reason I point that out is because you're going to use the same keywords that you created the listing with as your PPC keywords, because it's the same product. You want to have your product's very best keywords on that listing, so it indexes well, you organically rank well for those keywords, but also you're going to use those same best keywords in PPC. And by having those keywords already on the listing, we're going to ensure ad population, or in other words, that our ads actually show up when we start running them for those keywords. So everyone has their own procedure on getting the keywords. It might be using Amazal or Helium 10, or even just looking at your top competitors' titles and figuring out the best ones. The key thing that you should take away from today, though, is to focus on your very best. Avoid having too many keywords. I would say at absolute maximum, your 100 top keywords. I would even say 50 top keywords. Some people have even been really successful with just 30 keywords, your 30 very, very best keywords for your product. So it doesn't have to be that low. Again, it's also product dependent. Some products have more keywords than others, but really you're focusing on your very best. You already have them on the listing, and now we're going to filter through those, as Seth is going to touch on, and we're going to put them into PPC campaigns and begin driving that extra visibility. So now that we do have our product's keywords, let's say we have a big list that we also used for the listing. Seth, how do we actually go about prioritizing those and working out which are best and where they should go?
I love this question, Dan, because prioritizing any asset within your business is how a business is profitable. You can do a whole lot of work and get very low results, or you can do less work and get really good results. And this has never been truer than with a PPC campaign. There are two criteria you're going to use to prioritize your best keywords: volume and relevance. These are both extremely important. So step one, you're going to take all your keywords and you're going to put them into a Google Sheet or a numbers document. And then you're going to sort them from high to lowest when it comes to search volume. Then you're going to remove all the keywords that are not relevant. So let's just say, for example, your product is a set of 6 taco stands. And one of the keywords that comes up is Loch Ness Monster Ladle. Well, your product is neither a Loch Ness Monster or a ladle, so you're going to remove it. And some irrelevant keywords are going to pop up in your research. Just because it pops up doesn't mean it's good. In fact, a really good test to see, is it relevant? Just ask yourself this question. If Bobby McGee or Lucy Pickleberry were to go to Amazon and search this keyword, how likely is it that what they're looking for is the product that you are selling? So get rid of all the irrelevant ones. The next step is you're going to take all your most relevant keywords and you're going to highlight them green. And the less relevant keywords, you're going to highlight yellow. So let me give you another example. Again, let's say you have taco kit as one of the keywords that comes up. Well, because your product really isn't a taco kit, but it could be kind of relevant, you're going to give it a yellow highlight. Or let's say taco stand set of 4. Well, your product is a taco stand set of 6. Therefore, again, that would be a somewhat relevant. You may get a sale from it, but less likely. So you have to use intuition. Another test you can use on this is if you just go to Amazon.com and let's say you type in a keyword, if more than 80% of the search results on that landing page, the first landing page, are your product, then you can guarantee yourself that yes, this is a very relevant keyword. And if less than 50% of them are your product, it's very irrelevant. And anything between 80 and 50%, it's fairly relevant. And those will get the qualification of a yellow highlight in this example. Once you've done this, you're going to make a copy of this entire spreadsheet and you're going to separate out all the green keywords, the highly relevant ones, from another sheet that's both green and yellow. And we're going to show you in a minute why this is so important. Because you're going to use Exact Match on all the highly relevant, the green highlighted keywords. And we'll show you in a minute why that is so important. And that brings us to the next huge step, and that is creating a campaign for your Amazon business. So Dan, tell us, how do we create an Exact Match PPC campaign?
Sure. So it's actually going to be 3 campaigns we're going to create. We're going to do 2 types of manual campaigns. One is going to be our broad match. One's going to be our exact match. And then we're also going to run an automatic campaign. So 3 campaigns. And the first we're going to create is that exact match campaign. And in my opinion, this is actually the most important one, or this is the one I like the most. And you're going to set up the campaigns in the same way. The first thing you're going to do is go into Seller Central, and you're going to hover over advertising. You're then going to click on campaign manager. Then you're going to click create campaign and then choose sponsored products. And then once you're in this page over here, you want to use the following settings for your exact match campaign. First of all, the campaign name, and this is actually more important than it may seem. You want to have your product's name, for example here, taco or taco holder, then the match type. So what type of campaign are you doing? In this case, it's exact, and then the date. And this is specifically the date when you started running the campaign. This becomes super important later when you look back at this. It's often a problem if you skip doing this, that you can't figure out when I started running that campaign. So this is a really good way to date all of your campaigns, but this is how we do it for exact in this step. The dates. So you're going to start running this campaign today with no end date. We'll manually come back and stop it. And your daily budget will be between $30 and $100. If you're in a more competitive area, you're going to lean towards the $100 range here. Less competitive niche area, maybe $30, $40, $50 here. But remember, this is your aggressive campaign. This is the one you really, really want visibility on, because it's our exact match. And as you'll see in a moment, and as Seth just went through, these are our green keywords. These are our highest relevance. We know these are our best keywords. So we really want to be pushing visibility on these. And that's why your daily budget's going to be a bit higher on these ones. The targeting is going to be manual targeting at the bottom. Then what we're going to do, as you can see here, is use dynamic bids down only. And this is the one we choose here for a couple of reasons. It's going to allow you to have absolute control over ad spend. Because with this model, you set the ceiling. It can't go above that, which is different, for example, from Bid Plus, where Amazon can raise your bids above that ceiling. Here, we're setting the ceiling, so we have that control. We also can adjust that ceiling though. So say we're on top of page 2, but we want to be on page 1. We can lift our ceiling from, let's say, $2 to $2.50 to put that ad on page 1. And lastly, because it's dynamic bids down only, if we overbid, let's say we decide we're just going to bid super aggressive and we're going to bid $5 on this keyword. Well, we actually only need to bid $3.10 to outbid the very top competitor, the competitor in position 1, page 1. And so because of that, Amazon's not going to charge us the full $5. They're going to use dynamic bids down only so that we just outbid the next best competitor and we'll get position 1. So it also has a bit of a safety net like that built in. Then for the ad group name here, you're simply going to copy and paste the first campaign name we did, and we're going to drop it in here. That's fine for now. And then we're selecting the product we want to advertise, as you can see here, and then select keyword targeting in our targeting section. Then under keyword targeting, this is where it starts to come together from what Seth was talking about in those lists of green and yellow keywords. Here you want to select enter a list. You want to choose exact as your match type. This is our exact match campaign. You're going to drop in the green keywords from our exact match document. These are our very best keywords. And then we're going to click on add keywords at the bottom. Now our default bids are set at 75 cents, but that's not going to get us page 1 placement in most cases. And we want our ads on page 1. So it's really going to differ per market. It's very difficult for us to give you a specific amount that's going to get you there. But as a default bid, we are going to come in and adjust per individual keyword later. But as a default bid, $1.51 or $2.01 is a really good area to place these in, which could see you page one placement in general. So once you've reset this a little bit higher, so you're being more aggressive than the 75 cents, you can then click add keywords. And then once all of that's added, you can click on launch campaign. So Seth, now that we actually have our exact match campaign set up, how do I actually create my PPC broad match campaign? How does that differ, and how would you go about setting that up?
Absolutely. So it's very similar to how Dan explained the exact match campaign, but I'm still going to walk you through the same steps because some things are somewhat different. So first of all, naming it. You're going to name it very similar. You're going to start with the product name, then do a hyphen, like a space, a hyphen, a space, and then broad, and then the date. And then for the dates, you're going to have start today, but you're not going to have any end date because there's no reason to stop this at this point, and later you're going to be pausing it. Second, your daily budget is going to be between $15 and $50, and you'll soon understand why this is at the level it is versus the one that Dan shared with you a minute ago. Then you're going to select in your targeting manual targeting. Once you do this, it's going to allow you to select under dynamic bids, and you have the option of doing dynamic bids down only or both. And we're only going to do down only because that allows you to save money so that anytime Amazon can sense it is unlikely you're going to get a sale, they bring the bid down. But if it is high likely that you will get a sale, they do not bring the bid up because you're going to bid aggressively already, and this helps you to control your budget. Additionally, you're going to copy paste the same name you gave to your campaign, and you're going to drop it into the ad group area because each campaign has different ad groups. So this campaign, its ad group is the set of ads running under that campaign. There's no reason to call them something different because it just gets confusing. Then of course, you're going to select the product that you wish to advertise. And you're going to select keyword targeting, not product targeting, keyword targeting, because we are targeting specific keywords. In other words, when Bobby McGee searches that keyword, you want your listing showing up because of its relevance to that product that you created on the listing. So when you get to the keyword targeting area, you're going to select enter list, and you're going to choose broad, not exact. So Dan covered the exact. Now we're talking about broad as the match type. All this means is when someone searches a keyword or this particular keyword that you put in, different versions of it will pull up your listing, and it really serves as a hunter. So now this campaign is going to find new keywords. Whereas in the campaign that Dan explained, it is targeting words that you know are super relevant. This one is going to find you new keywords that are relevant to your product that you may not have even known about, or even new ones, because customer searching habits change over time, just like people. No one is static. People are dynamic, and over time, new keywords start to rank that are relevant to your product. So what it's really doing is you're making it work for you. Then you're going to drop in all your green and yellow keywords from your broad match document. You're going to drop them all into this campaign and then click add keywords. Now again, why are we putting both the green and the yellow? Because we already put the green, the most relevant ones, into the exact match campaign that Dan explained. So why are we adding them to this one as well? Let me explain. First, take the next step and understand that your bid of about $1.51 typically is sufficient, because broad match targeting as a general rule is less expensive than exact match. So we're going to start at around $1.51, and then once chosen, you're going to add all those keywords. And then you're going to scroll down, and this is the really key part, you guys. This is something that a lot of people don't do. You're going to select negative keyword targeting. Now, negative is your friend, and let me explain why. For every single word that came from your green list, you are going to add it as exact match, negative, on your broad match campaign. This is important because it allows you to avoid keyword cannibalization. You don't want one campaign competing against another campaign, and this campaign bid goes up to $2, so you make this one go up to $2.10, and now you're bidding against yourself, and Amazon's laughing all the way to the bank. What this does is it allows your broad match campaign to hunt for other versions of that keyword. Let me give you an example. Let's just say taco stand set of 6. That's your keyword. Highly relevant. That goes in your broad match campaign, but also as a negative exact match in your broad match campaign, so that you aren't spending money if customers search that keyword, your listing comes up, because it's already going to happen because that same word is in your exact match campaign. What it means, however, is other relevant keywords similar to that will come up, because that's the nature of broad. Its job is to find different variations or nuanced keywords that are relevant to your product. So in that situation, taco stand set of 7 might come up and actually rank really well. People find your listing and they're like, you know what, I do like a set of 6 if you're selling 6, and then they buy. And now you know, oh my goodness, I just found a new keyword through my broad match campaign. What you're doing is you're leveraging each campaign type to reinforce the other one, because now the broad match campaign becomes a hunter and it's going to find new keywords, and some of those that convert really well and are highly relevant will later end up in your exact match campaign, which Dan explained. So Dan, I got a question. What about automatic campaign? How does someone create that? And could you explain that process to us?
Sure. So it's actually really similar. I'll breeze through it quickly so we can move on to the more like exciting new stuff. But again, you can see the screen here shows the same type of sections to fill out. We're going to name this product, auto, date. So in this case, taco, auto, and today's date. Then on the date, start today, no end date. Our daily budget's going to be $15 to $50. So similar to broad here and much less than exact match, which is going to be our aggressive one for those exact keywords. Here with auto, we're again going a bit less like broad, because broad and auto are our testing campaigns. We're running these to figure out new keywords. Then our targeting is going to be automatic targeting at the bottom for the first time. All the others were manual targeting. We're going to select dynamic bids down only once again, and we're going to copy and paste the campaign name from that top section into our ad group name section. Select our product to advertise, and we're setting the default bid to $1.01. And if you're wondering why all these random numbers, these little cents, it's simply because most people choose $1 or $1.50. So by going a little bit odd even, by going with $1.01 or $1.53, you're just outbidding all those people at $1 or at $1.50. You're going to open negative targeting again. Seth just touched on this. And you're going to select negative exact as the match type. And you're dropping in all the broad and exact match keywords that we've already used. Because remember, what's the purpose of automatic? Amazon's going to take all the keywords we already have on the listing, and they're going to say, okay, what do we believe this is going to work really well for? And they're going to run us for different keywords. They're going to run us even on our competitors' listings, on other product listings, to see, are we a good substitute there? And so from this campaign, we're going to get back new keywords and also specific products we could maybe do product targeting on as well, which can be something we do in a different session. But that's what our aim is. We don't want it running us for the same keywords we used in exact match, all the same ones we used in broad. And that's exactly why we're putting them in here. Negative exact, again, so we avoid that cannibalization. And once they are in here, you're going to click on add keywords. And lastly, at the very bottom, you're going to click on launch campaign. So Seth, with all of our PPC campaigns set up, how do I make sure that I'm actually bidding enough, that I'm offering Amazon enough in return to get good enough placement?
I love this part because here's what happens with a lot of Amazon sellers. I understand you're on a budget. You're like, wait a minute, I got to be careful. I have to be profitable. And so it feels scary to bid high. So what I'm about to say, do not let it terrify you. This is how you will end up making so much more money. And every advanced Amazon seller knows this. You need to be bidding at least 10% higher than the highest suggested bid by Amazon. So when you click on your campaign and you go down to that little blue number under total targets, you're going to compare the suggested bid range against the keyword bid, and you're going to adjust accordingly. In other words, let's just keep it simple. If the highest suggested bid is $1, multiply it by 1.1. So 100% plus 10% more, you're going to bid $1.10. The reason this is so important is it allows your listings, your sponsored listings, to show up higher on the search results page. That's important because now you're gonna have a lot more data to sort through to use to optimize later. But if you're too conservative on your bidding, what will happen is your sponsored listings will show up on page 3 or page 4 or page 5, which means a lot of people don't see it. So later when you're trying to optimize your ad, you don't have enough data and accurate data to really make a wise decision. So it's better to bid aggressively up front to get the data, and then later you're gonna reduce your costs, which will show you exactly how to do. So Dan, that brings us to a really important question. How do I make sure my PPC ads are running properly?
Sure. So the first thing you need to do is make sure that your ads are running at least 70% of the day. Remember, you're going to have something called a daily budget, and you need to make sure that's sufficient to actually keep those ads running for the majority of the day. It doesn't have to run 24 hours, but you definitely don't want it running like 20% of the day because you're losing visibility. And if you're losing too much visibility, then remember in this test period, which is going to be a 14-day test, we're running Exact, Auto, Broad. If you're losing visibility, then the kind of credibility of the data you're going to have at the end is not going to be good. You're not going to be able to look at this and make concrete decisions because you just don't have enough data. So the more visibility you have, the more data you're going to end up with at the end. So you have to make sure that your ads are running at least 70% of the day. There are some indications which will tell you that they're not running 70% of the day. And the first thing is that you start to see your ads are just disappearing. Your ads are not there. Your sponsored listing, which is your ad, is not there anymore. And if you start to notice that too early in the day, it means your daily budget is running out. The second place or more concrete place you can see this is if you actually go into Campaign Manager and you'll see out of budget on that campaign. So that's the next place you want to be checking, and you just want to be checking throughout the day for the first days of your campaign. And then you'll get a good inkling as to a good level for that daily budget. And if it is running out early, just raise that budget because this test period is so important. As Seth said, you're actually going to spend less if you bid more and have a higher daily budget now, because you don't have to then repeat the test phase. You've got a good 14-day test of solid data, even if it was a bit more expensive than you wanted, but you only have to do that once. You don't have to repeat it because of gaps in data or not bidding enough. So the second thing you want to do here is check your ad placement. And now you're going to start to see why we recommend a smaller list of keywords, because what you want to do here, and the most important, I would say, is for your exact match keywords, but you want to go type these into Amazon, as you can see here, as if you were a customer, as if you're searching for this product. And what you want to do is see, where are my ads showing up? Are they showing up on page 3 and 4? Do I need a bit more? Am I on top of page 1? Because the higher your placement in this test period, the better data you're going to have. If you are running at the top of page 1, position 1, page 1, even position 4, page 1, or at least the middle of page 1, by the end of the 14 days, you are going to know, you're going to have concrete info on whether this is a good keyword for you or not. Does it show potential? Does it show potential for when I have a few more reviews or not? So it's very important you check both these things, daily budget and also your ad placement. So Seth, as I prepare to evaluate now at this point, I've been running my ads for 14 days. What are some realistic expectations I should have for my ad performance?
That's a great question. Before I answer it, everyone, if you're enjoying this video, if it's helpful, make sure you subscribe and ask any questions you have below. Great question, Dan. So first of all, understand that it takes at least 14 days to get the data you need in order to optimize your campaign effectively. And there's always about a 48-hour or up to a 48-hour delay. So if you were to pull down your ad report, the last 48 hours, you're not gonna see it. So you can at least get 10 to 12 days of data 2 weeks later. So after it's been running for 2 weeks, you're gonna go into your campaign, you're gonna download the ad report, and this is the data you're gonna use in order to optimize not only your campaign, but also your listing. So this takes patience. Imagine that you started a new company, a new brick and mortar store, and you begin marketing. Well, that marketing is going to give you a lot of data on how to adjust it to make sure you're reducing your costs and you're raising your profits, because we will not run an Amazon store, and I know you don't either want to, unless it is profitable. Second, to manage your expectations, understand that at this point, you probably don't have reviews, or if you do, there's very few. Now, in our membership, we teach you incredible ways to get reviews fast. Some people have gotten up to 17% return rate on their reviews, which is like unheard of because of the techniques that we use. I'm talking about 5-star, organic, not incentivized, nothing sneaky. But again, when you first launch your listing, it's kind of fragile. It's like a newborn baby, and it doesn't have reviews yet, unless you're using our methods, which we teach in our membership. So go to justonedime.com/freedom for that. But understand that's going to impact your ad performance. Whereas if you fast forward 6 months from now, when you have, let's say, 16 or 17 or 67 reviews, now your ad data is going to look very different. Now, why is that? Well, some people will not buy unless they see a lot of good reviews on there. And some people, they're a little more open and more exploratory, and they like taking risks. So understandably, a lot of people at the beginning are going to see your ad, but they're not going to click on it. Or many will click on it, but not buy it because of a lack of reviews. Now, this isn't a problem. Every single seller who has a ton of reviews had to start somewhere. We all do. And so don't let that discourage you, but just set your expectations realistically, because a lack of social proof will impact the conversion of your listing. Dan, how do I download my PPC report? We're talking about optimizing. We need this data. So can you help us understand how to download it so we can actually check our PPC ad performance?
Sure. So you're going to go into Campaign Manager again, and you're going to click on Advertising Reports, and then you're going to click on Create Report. You'll see a button there at the top left. And then we're actually going to fill in some info here. We want to choose Sponsored Products at the top. Then we're going to choose Search Term in the report type. Then we're going to select Summary as our time unit here, and then select the report period manually, as you can see over here. But again, as Seth said, you want to leave out the last 48 hours. We don't want info from today or yesterday, sometimes even the day before that, because it has that propagation period. So leave that out. Then you want to name your report. So you can have your product's name, for example, taco holder, and then search term report, and then the date. Again, you want to know when you generated this. Choose now for the scheduled time because we want to start evaluating, and then click Run Reports at the top left. It's going to take a little bit of time, but then it's going to become downloadable. And when you see that little download icon, like you can see here, just download that and save it to your computer. But now, Seth, that I actually have this report on my computer, what do all these columns mean? There's a lot of different columns here. Could you just break down what does each column actually mean? And when I read that and see those numbers, can you explain what I should be thinking of when I see those names?
Absolutely. And when you first download this report, do not be intimidated by it. After you use it a few times, you're going to become very comfortable and confident. And our goal is to make sure you understand it well so you can build your business with confidence. So the first term you're going to see up there is keyword. This is the keyword that you are targeting as a seller. It's the keyword that you put into your campaign. The second term you're going to see is the customer search term. Now this is where it gets interesting. This is the keyword the customer actually typed in that caused your ad to display. So for example, on a broad match campaign, your keyword you put in may be taco stand, but what they typed in was taco stand set of 4. And so that's where you can see a little bit of a discrepancy, a difference between the keyword you put in the campaign and what they typed in. But that discrepancy is good. That gives you precious, valuable data. The next column you're going to see is impressions. All this means is every time your ad shows up, every time it gives an impression is one way to remember it easily, every time it's visible. Now keep in mind, impressions could be on the first page, it could be on the 10th page. That's why it's so important, as we discussed earlier, that you're budgeting and bidding high enough so that your impression shows up early on the search results. Otherwise, if it's showing up on page 7, it may give 1,000 impressions and you go, man, why is no one clicking? Well, maybe it's because most people don't have the patience to click next, or scroll to page 7 to see it in order to click on it. The next thing you will see is a click. All this means is when the customer clicks on the sponsored listing. This is when you pay. You pay Amazon for every click, not for every buy, not for every impression, but for the click. And clicks are very important because if 100 customers click, but only 2 of them buy, that means you need to upgrade or optimize your listing. But if only 10 customers click and 2 of them buy, or let's say 3 of them buy, you have now not a 2%, but a 30% conversion. That means your listing's doing great, but you need to raise your bid or your budget so it's showing up soon enough so more people can see it. The next thing is click-through rate. All it means is the percentage of people who saw your ad because there was an impression, and then they clicked on it. So if you just take your clicks and you divide it by impressions, and you multiply it by 100, that is your percentage. An easy way of saying is out of 100 people, if 20 of them clicked on it, then that means you have a 20% click-through rate. That data right there is gold. Now you understand, conversion could be better, but we're getting a decent number of clicks, because let's say you got 10,000, in the last 2 weeks, for example. The next thing is cost per click. This is what you actually pay. It's not what you bid, it's what you pay. And remember we talked about the different options for how much Amazon controls that bid? Well, we gave you the option to help save you money, but sometimes they will click on it and it's actually less than what you bid. Bid simply means this is how much you are willing to pay because you want that top spot. The last thing is ACoS, also known as advertising cost of spend or sale. All it means is how much money did you have to spend in order to get the sale. So an easy way to look at it, let's say you sold $100 worth of taco stands, but you spent $10 in ads to get those $100, then that means you have a 10% advertising cost of sale. In the Just One Dime membership at justonedime.com/freedom, we go very in depth on how to make sure your ACoS is low. Because here's the thing. There are some Amazon sellers out there doing millions, but their percentage is like 3, 4, 5%. Just this morning, Dan, I was looking on Instagram and this guy, he's very honest, I respect it, but his margins are under 7%. That's not very fun. That means a lot of work for a little bit of payout. It'd be much better to be in a 30, 35, 40, sometimes 60%, and that's why we specialize in this so much. Dan, what PPC metrics in our ad report should we be analyzing? Which ones do you think we should be really focusing on? Because there's a lot of data there.
Sure. I think 2 really stand out to me. The one is sales, of course, and the other one is clicks. And clicks at this point are almost as important as sales. Your goal at this point is really to work out what are my well-performing keywords, the best performing keywords, because we want to retain and focus on those, of course, for the future. And then where are our poorer performers? Because we want to remove those or maybe lower the bid on them or even pause them. So the report has a lot of columns, but you really want to focus on two that are the most critical. And these indicate keyword strength. The first one is sales, because sales at this point tell you that even though let's say it's a brand new product, even though I have very few reviews, let's say I have like 9, 10 reviews, people still took the risk on my product. It was that intriguing to them. I've done a good enough job with developing a unique offering, unique value, that they bought my product after using this keyword to find it. So this is the strongest sign that this is going to be a very powerful keyword for you, because as you go forward and get more sales, more reviews, that's probably only going to convert better for you. So sales at this point are a huge deal. Next up is clicks, and clicks show interest. So remember, we said we might have lower reviews at this point. Maybe we didn't get the sale, and it's important to not get disheartened if you're not making a lot of sales in this test period, because we're not doing this for sales. We're doing this for data. And if you're getting clicks at this point for a certain keyword, you have to think about that a bit, because it's still a huge metric that tells you this could be very, very good for you in the future. Let's say out of 30 people, 20 of them actually clicked on your offering. They didn't buy, but after they typed this in, they actually clicked on your offering, even though you have 3 reviews. That tells you it's intriguing, it's interesting. This does deliver value, but they don't trust you that much yet. not until you have more reviews. And so it's a keyword you keep because you know as you have more reviews, you're going to get way more clicks and sales because that trust element's there as well. So clicks are very, very important. And as we go through the report evaluation, you're going to see how we look at clicks and in conjunction with impressions. And really, we're looking at click-through rate there. So Seth, with that in mind, what if my PPC ads are just not yielding data? Like I've done all of this, I think it's all accurate, but after the testing phase, I just don't have a lot of data. I don't have a lot of sales or clicks or impressions. Like I'm not getting this data.
Yeah, this is a really common problem for people running PPC campaigns, and it's kind of frustrating. You pull down that download ad report and there's just not that much. And this means there are one of two errors going on. Number one, you're not bidding high enough, or number two, your budget isn't high enough. This is why I talked about being aggressive, but smart aggressive, not blindly aggressive is really important. You need that data. In other words, if your bid is too low, your ad is not going to show up very often or very soon on the search results page, which means if no one sees it, even though it showed up, no one clicks on it, no one has a chance to buy it. And as Dan mentioned, when you have either no or little reviews, you're just invisible. So you need to get yourself visible. Ads are a way to make yourself seen. Once you're seen, think about it this way. If you talk to 1,000 people, well, you have now 1,000 people of feedback. But if you only talk to 2 people, that's not very objective because that's just 2 out of millions of people who are shopping on Amazon. Now, another thing you need to keep in mind is make sure your keywords are relevant. Sometimes an ad, even if you're bidding high and your budget is high, if the keyword is not relevant to that listing, Amazon will not show your ad for it. So you can use that test that we shared earlier. We actually have 90 minutes of training on how to build your entire Amazon business, and we're going to tell you about how to get that at the end of this training. Once you have raised your bid and you've raised your budget so that you know you're bidding at least 10% higher than all the other bids, and your budget is enough to at least be running for 70% of the day, you need to run your ads longer. So you need to give it another 14 days in order to collect all that data that you need. So Dan, how do I use my PPC report to optimize my ads for peak performance? Could you share your screen and just kind of break this down for us and give us a really in-depth look at it?
Sure. So now's actually when we jump into the report. This is the part I've been looking forward to because you're going to see how to take the report you have and how to actually analyze it. Which keywords are good in Broad Match? Which ones are good in Auto, in Exact? So in the case that you have enough data, you're ready to really optimize at this point. We need to evaluate the report. So we're going to jump on screen here and start actually looking at a report for the taco holder. So on screen here, you can see our report and we have our ad group name. So it's all neatly labeled. And this is really important because you might be wondering, oh, it's not that important to name it correctly. But you can see here in some reports, you're actually going to have multiple products coming out in that report. So if you name it well like this, it's really easy to go in and delete the products you're not looking at. And also focus in, okay, here's Broad, here's Auto, here's Exact, because we named it well in the beginning. So we're going to start here with Broad. And you can see here's our keyword. Remember, this is the keyword we chose to put into that campaign. And there's the customer search term. So what Amazon actually returned us for, what the customer actually typed in, and what our ad ran for. So let's start evaluating. I'm not going to do all of these. You can see I've highlighted Broad yellow. Automatic is orange. I know this says Broad, but anytime you see a little star like this, you know it's automatic. Because remember, automatic, we don't put in our keywords to that campaign setup. Amazon chooses which keywords to run us for based on our listing and what's already on there. So a star indicates automatic. And down here, green is exact match. So looking at Broad at the top, we're going to do a few for each campaign type. We can see our first one is taco holders set. That's the customer search term here. And we want to see impressions, clicks, sales, etc. What we're going to focus on today, though, is total 7-day sales and then our clicks. So if we look at sales, we made no sales there. So the next thing we're going to look at is clicks, and we have 5 clicks here from 32 impressions. And what that means is out of 32 people who saw our ad, 5 of them clicked, and that gives us a 15% click-through rate. Anything above 5% is decent. It's pretty good. Above 10 is good, and above 15 is excellent. So in this case, I'm actually going to keep this keyword. So we're just going to highlight that green. And then the next one, taco holder stand 6. Here you can see again, no sales and 16 impressions, 1 click. So an okay click-through rate, not bad. But this one I'd be on the fence with. I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt because it's our exact product. We're actually doing a 6 set of taco holders. So I'll give this one the benefit of the doubt in this case. So over here, we've got no sales, but a good click-through rate again. So we're going to keep this one. And then over here, we don't have any sales. We have a really good click-through rate, 50%, but you can see here we only have 2 impressions. And so for that reason, I'm not going to keep this keyword. And the reason is that we don't have enough people actually searching for the search term. So we're not going to keep that. Taco Maker Kit, huge impressions, no sales, and only 1 click. And we would expect that because we're not actually selling a taco maker kit. So it's not relevant. This is not a keyword that's going to work well for us. And so we're not going to be keeping it. And so this is how you move through the list. And you'll do this for the rest of Broad. You're looking at sales first, and then clicks, and that relationship, impressions and clicks. Let's look at auto quickly. So here we have taco shell bar. We can see no sales, very low click-through rate, so we won't be keeping this one. Taco rack steel. Here we actually made some sales, so we're actually going to be keeping this keyword. If I'm seeing sales at this point, I'm definitely going to be keeping that keyword. Taco holder set 6. Again, we made some sales. We actually made a good few sales, so here we're definitely going to be keeping this. Tortilla holder set, no sales, and quite a bad click-through rate as well. You can see there, out of 179 people, only 5 clicked, so not good. We won't be keeping that keyword. Taco plate kit, no sales, and again, low click-through rate. And you're going to move through the rest of automatic like this. And then looking at Exact Match, our last one, we can see taco stand. Here we made sales, so we're definitely going to be keeping this. Taco bar, no sales and really bad click-through rate, so we're not going to be keeping this one. Taco rack, we actually made a sale, so we're going to be keeping this one. Taco holder stand, we also made sales. And you can see we actually made sales for all of these here. Even this one we did very, very well on. Taco holder set of 6. And you can see a pattern there. Taco holder set of 6. That's our exact product. And so on that keyword, we've done very, very well. It's converted really well for us. So this is going to be a very powerful keyword for us going forward. And you move through the rest like that. The only difference is when it comes to the Exact Match campaign, your yellow keywords or your poor performers, we're not going to totally remove those. Those ones we're actually just going to lower the bid a bit on, or we're going to pause them. Because remember from the beginning, we know these are our very best keywords. So maybe with a few more reviews, they would convert well for us. So Exact Match is the one you want to be the most careful with. But at this point, you've gone through the whole list and they're either green or yellow. And now you know your really good performing keywords and your really bad performing keywords. So Seth, now that we've actually evaluated that, how would you go about actually taking the data we've pulled out of those reports and optimizing our campaigns on Amazon itself?
And I love this part because this is where we get to get really specific on the campaign. Now that you've optimized the ad report, now we're going to look at the campaigns and optimize those. Now, understand first of all that you have high performers in your automatic campaign, you have high performers in your broad campaign, and you also have high performers in your exact match campaign. So the first thing you're going to do, pause your automatic and your broad campaign. Now, a lot of people are going to go, wait a minute, why would I do that? Well, if your campaign was set up correctly, they have done their job so far up to this point. And the reason you're not going to delete them is you may use them in the future. Plus, it can affect your ranking negatively if you just delete an entire campaign. So pause the entire campaign for your automatic and your broad. Then you're going to take all of the best performing keywords from those two campaigns and you're going to drop them into your exact match campaign. And for those keywords that are performing poorly on your exact match campaign, you're going to pause those. What you're doing is you're getting rid of everything that's costing you money you don't need. Look at it this way. If you ran an ad campaign just for a regular brick and mortar store, you would have to spend money marketing, but that marketing isn't just to get sales, it's to collect data. Once you have the data and you realize, man, I noticed that billboards, they don't convert very well, but I noticed that magazine ads do, speaking of very traditional advertising, that's a very tangible example of what you're doing right now. You're finding out what keywords will make you money, you're getting, or at least pausing the ones that don't. Now in the future, you could later decide to run the automatic and broad after a few months if you want to collect more data, but for now, you're going to pause those. And now your exact match campaign is only running the best keywords that are actually making you money. Now also, don't forget this, you have to go back and regularly check that your ads that you are bidding on, or the keywords that you're bidding on, are at least 10% higher than the highest suggested bid. When you go over to that section in Campaign Manager and you see the middle suggestion in big numbers, and then you see the lowest and the highest, and let's just say, as you can see in this example, the highest is 0.71, well, you need to be 10% higher than 71 cents. Why? Because it allows your ad, your sponsored listing, to show up in a very prominent place so customers can keep finding, buying, and giving you data so that you can use to optimize the listing later on. At this point, once you've done this, you're gonna keep running your exact match campaign and you're gonna do it for another 14 days. Now remember, your initial goal is to organically rank. That's the goal. You want people to begin to fall in love with your brand. It's sort of like this. When people go to Amazon, first they fall in love with the listing. Now you and I know that the listing is just a bunch of zeros and ones and pixels. It's not an actual real thing, but it's their only way of knowing what you're offering. Once they fall in love with your listing, then they buy. Then they receive the product. Now that love is transferred from the listing to the product. But then later, they begin to fall in love with your brand because they know you make and manufacture and deliver amazing products with outstanding customer service. That's when your organic ranking begins to take on a life of its own. In other words, not only is it ranking organically when people search it and they don't even have to click a sponsored ad to find you, but people begin to love the brand and that begins to make you far more money where it's starting to work for you. That's when the income begins to become passive. Like one of our students, he spends 5 minutes a day checking PPC and that is it. He makes over $20,000 profit a month, 5 minutes a day. I don't know a single job in the world that will pay you like that. Now, did it take work? Of course it did. He had to take the steps we're showing you right now to get to this point. Understand that the keywords you were optimizing for, that you were running in your campaign, have to be relevant and have to be visible. That is how you get sales. Now, after those 14 days, you're gonna come back, you're gonna do the same steps we gave you, we're gonna download the ad report, and you're gonna optimize the specific keywords. And you're gonna keep on doing this as needed. And what you will find is the better you set it up at the beginning, the less work you will have to do in the future. And at some point, you're just kind of giving a little pamper here and a pamper there so it can run for you automatically. And then that gives you time, that gives you freedom. And as you know, there is no refund on your time. Every second, once it's gone forever. You can never get that back. That's why we are so passionate about Amazon, not because we love Amazon. Amazon's pretty cool. They got their pros and their cons. They have their frustrations, and we're very open about that. But because of the margin, the freedom it can provide, so that you actually can go hang out with your family. So you can go to the gym in the middle of the day. So you're not having to always feel restricted on your freedom or always having to get permission to do something because you set it up right. Less is more. Dan, do you have any last words of encouragement for everyone watching this PPC before I share with them the gift I promised them at the beginning of this video?
Yes, I think just a quick summary, because it's a lot of info. And if you're at this point, well done, because it's a lot to get through. But just remember what you're really doing at a bird's eye view here is you're running broad, automatic, and exact match, and you're running auto and broad as test campaigns, and then you're optimizing all towards exact match. That's where you're moving everything toward. So you have this exact match campaign where Amazon only runs your ads for exactly the keyword you put in there, not other random or related terms. So you're eliminating wastage, and you're focusing on your very best keywords in that exact match campaign and optimizing them from there in terms of bids and where they're showing up, which ones are doing well, etc. But this is a really minimal approach, a less is more approach, as Seth just mentioned. So just a bird's eye view, a summary of that. You're running those as tests, and then everything moves towards exact match where you're just focusing on the very best keywords. But back to you, Seth.
Okay, as promised, if you look at the description below, we created a 90-minute workshop from A to Z, how to build an Amazon business that works for you. Now, I'm gonna be super transparent. Yes, we will talk about our membership, but we won't be sneaky about it. And that's at the end. And we're very clear. And there is an offer people who aren't members get that no one else gets, but you have to sit through the training. But I promise you this, you will get a ton of practical content. We do everything we can to make sure you're getting the help you need. To this day, we manage over 100 million in annual Amazon revenue for the people that we work with, collaborate with, build stores with, or train. We know how to do it, and I want you to have freedom. So click that link below, check it out. And again, if you like this video, make sure you subscribe, make sure you like. And I do have a question actually before we go. What part of this video was the most helpful? We would really love to know, because this will help us to know what kind of content to keep creating for you. So what part did you enjoy the most? Thank you so much again for being here, Dan.
You got it, Seth. Thank you for having me, and I hope this helps everyone. Let us know below exactly what is your favorite part, because that can also inspire future content as well. But thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you. You guys have an awesome day, and do not give up.